I think, Lasse, you can just go ahead and take over.
Thank you. So thanks for inviting me. And the idea is that I will be sharing some reflections as to how AI will enable the creation of the metaverse. And I don't have that many slides, even though I have. And many people probably know a lot about metaverse. Many know much more than me. And so I try to focus more on this AI and more particularly generative AI, which I think will be quite amazing. So I hope all of you have a lot of questions, because normally those bring a lot of value to these kind of sessions. And I think we are ready to start. So Tim O'Reilly already many years back said that technological change normally happens gradually and then suddenly. And right now, I think with the metaverse, we are in this gradually moment, and then all of a sudden we can be in suddenly. Kind of like the same that happened with WhatsApp, that it just happened all of a sudden, all of your friends had it. We could also use this same analogy for AI in a way, where AI used to be something for only few people in the company, and suddenly ChatGPT was created and many other things and programs, and now it's something that every worker needs to use and pay attention. So anyhow, I think this is quite interesting, and I also think that a lot of this development depends on Microsoft. So I'm looking forward for Microsoft's products, but I also think it depends on how fast we get better internet connections, like 6G, that probably will still take 7 years or something like this, because then it really makes sense to spend a lot of time in metaverse environments. So I wrote this book many years back. Actually, if you go to Amazon, it has now more than 300 ratings. So it was the first book for non-technical people about what is AI and how it's changing the world. And it has been really popular in the US. It was many years one of the top 10 most read AI books, which was a big honor. And it has also been reviewed in many universities and used in many occasions. But before this book, I actually wrote another book, and this is how it all started. This was how higher education will be impacted by these emerging technologies. One of them was virtual reality, AI. So we could say that this was kind of like before the word metaverse even existed. This book was actually published in 2016, which is 7 years ago, quite a long time ago again. So anyhow, right now I focus highly on AI and how companies can use AI, and also a little bit of metaverse, how they can get ready for the metaverse. So here is like an intro of the metaverse, but I think all of you, or most of you, have a lot of great presentations here. So maybe you don't need a specific presentation, but I think of it as a 3D version of the internet. And I think the metaverse, rather than saying the metaverse, I think about it as metaverse technologies. And I recommend companies to start analyzing how they can start using these different metaverse technologies and how they can create certain pilot projects and so on. Also quite interesting is that Bill Gates said that the metaverse will host most of the office meetings in 2 to 3 years. Well, actually, he said this 1 year ago, so now it's 1 to 2 years. And obviously, he's a creator and a big shareholder of Microsoft, and Microsoft is bringing some of these technologies. But I'm quite sure he's right. So meetings, I'm personally looking forward for meetings to be more effective and having more metaverse technologies, where right now, for example, with Teams or Zoom or these technologies, when we close the meeting, it's done, even though they are implementing more and more AI. But in the future, the meeting could stay there and people could come and go whenever they want and see the presentation and collaborate and so on and so forth. So that's quite interesting, and hopefully that will happen soon. And then we have different like evolutions of the metaverse. For many people, it all started with Second Life and something like Happo Hotel. But right now, I would say that metaverse depends a lot on this company, NVIDIA, which is totally amazing. I'm really sad I didn't buy their stock. I was thinking of buying it something like 8 years ago, but it's okay. And OpenAI and other companies that are creating AI technologies will play important roles. So I see the metaverse and the metaverse technologies as something that will depend on artificial intelligence. And actually, many people think of the metaverse as being built on top of the blockchain. I see still a lot of big problems with that, even though I think it's a possibility, or it can be used and so on and so forth. But I see metaverse being built on top of AI and large language models that can do a lot of things on the metaverse. So when we talk about AI, we used to have this traditional AI where you needed a lot of data in order to work. Now we have something called generative AI, which is something that all of you hopefully are really excited, and I hope you are spending all your free time learning how it will affect your business, your sector, and your industry. So generative AI means that we will generate things from zero. And right now, what we are generating is mostly text with ChatGPT and images with programs like Midjourney and Microsoft Image Creator and other tools. But soon, a lot of people will be generating videos and will be generating 3D content, which will be kind of like a building block for the metaverse technologies and so on. I also wanted to highlight that generative AI is moving quite fast, and there are kind of like three things it's doing right now. It's changing the way we work, and soon it's changing the business processes, and after that it will change the business models, which we can already see in some industries. And when we think about generative AI landscape, most of it, as I mentioned before, have been related to text, have been related to coding and images. But the other things that people are using and other kind of content are still coming. And one of them is this 3D content, where Apple was the first one to create kind of like a model for that. And nowadays there are other companies. But basically, I see this as a building block where people use different prompts in order to create the metaverse environments that they want, and so on. In the future, we will see amazing generative AI applications when it comes to medicine and different, even different materials, and so on and so forth. From my point of view, it's kind of like one way to think about it is generative AI is eating the traditional AI, if you can say it like that. And most of the money that investors are right now putting in technology is going to generative AI models, which many of you will hear some new and amazing models quite soon before Christmas. And I will be sharing what I think will be the most powerful model for sure. So as I mentioned, a lot of companies have been creating these. They are still, I would say, not really good, and they need improvement. But Apple, I think, was the first big one when they created or launched Cloudy. And some time ago, Intel Labs introduced a new generative AI tool that can create 3D visual content. And there's a lot of actually quite interesting business models and opportunities if you think businesses that are visually orientated. This will be great addition for them. Businesses like IKEA and other businesses that are really visual, or for, let's say, real estate development and so on. So from my point of view, AI plays a really big role in this creation of what we call the metaverse. And this generative AI, many times in the US, they only say Gen AI. Generative AI is growing quite a lot. So in more or less 10 years or 9 years, it will be 10x. Actually, this is kind of like the business, how would I say, the business impact. But what people don't understand is that the individual impact will be even better, because there's a high likelihood that in 2026, which is 3 years from now, or maybe 4 years from now, I don't know. But anyhow, that we all would have our own AI, which would be 1000x, meaning 1000 times better than what we now have with ChatGPT 4. And these AIs can do everything. Basically, what they can do is that they are autonomous. So they can interact with APIs, they can interact with different databases. And for example, I could say to my AI that, hey, go and create Metaverse environment for the event I have in this university or whatever, and also create an email and invite these participants there to hang out, and let me know that I will, or let them know that I will be there tomorrow at 9 or whatever. So right now, ChatGPT, for example, it can do certain things really, really well, but it cannot do chain of things. There's one application called AutoGPT, which is quite good for this. And I recommend all of you to start testing and kind of like playing around with AutoGPT. But I would really get ready for these AIs that all of us will be using, and every company will have their AI, and so on. The good thing is that these AIs will probably be totally privacy protected. They will protect your privacy because that's technologically we can build that in, and also they will be not sharing your information and so on and so forth. So anyhow, that I think will be a big game changer, and also it will be a huge productivity boost and booster for the economy. Now, few things, just like what different AI technologies, how they are impacting Metaverse. For example, affective computing, where you can create Metaverse environments where there's like an emotion recognition technology. I think in China they have been testing this a lot. Here you have to take into consideration the privacy considerations and where this data will be shared and how it's shared and so on. Stimulated agents and creativity. So here, basically, I see this more as what I mentioned earlier, our own AI agents or assistants that will go and do certain things. Maybe in 3 years or 4 years, my assistant will come and give an introduction of this presentation. If I give it to permission, and then I come at the end and answer the questions or something like that. So it will give a lot of good opportunities. intelligent displays. Maybe many of you have seen already in TikTok or Instagram different examples of these kind of things where displays can be controlled thanks to gestures and voice and so on. And then AI enabled smart objects and cameras and so on. So these are just some things, but what I would like to say is that it's really important that we think about the human impact of these, and we think about first human benefits and challenges before creating these technologies. They're kind of like 3 ways of using AI traditionally, which has been that in US they have been doing mostly everything profit first, meaning let's make a lot of money, and after we will self-regulate and we will like make it better. But we know from Facebook that that has never happened, and they don't know, they don't understand how to do it, and so on. Then there has been China way of AI, which is governmental centric AI, where you can do all these things. They already have smart cameras and smart everything, but all that information goes to how do you say, to the all that information goes to the government. So in Europe we have human-centric metaverse, and European Union has been creating different policies and kind of like creating a different ideas as to how the metaverse could have a human point of view, which I think is quite interesting. So anyhow, a few other ideas here. I think it's quite interesting to see what is happening in Dubai, how they are investing a lot in the metaverse, also how they are investing a lot in generative AI. So I really have to say that in that sense, the leaders in Dubai are really forward thinking, because right now, even though we have a lot of problems in the society, the leaders should already anticipate possible problems in the future and how technology can handle them. So Dubai has already launched their own generative AI model, which is called Falcon. It's coming soon to one AI tool that I can share at the end, and you can test it. And yeah, that's really interesting that they are already really far away with generative AI and the metaverse. Other country who is doing amazing work, I think, is England. They have invested a lot to be independent when it comes to generative AI. My question is what Finnish government is doing. I haven't seen anything. Hopefully they're doing something, because otherwise we are kind of like left behind and so on. And now would be a great opportunity. Anyhow, I think it's quite interesting what Dubai is doing, and we can use Dubai as a place where we can learn what worked and what didn't work. And the history of Dubai, as many of you know, is that they generated a lot of oil, and then they noticed that oil will end one day. Let's start with tourism, and they became one of the leading tourism destinations in the world. But now they understand that tourism is only available for certain percentage of people. Let's create a metaverse so everybody can participate and visit Dubai, for example, and so on. So now they are with that. So I think that's quite clever. Then we have South Korea, which also is quite interesting in general, how much some Asian countries are using, or the families in these countries are using technology and so on, is quite worrying. I don't recommend to have 3 mobile phones as they have per person, but it's interesting that the mayor is already having these presentations in the metaverse, and this was already I think last year he started, and you can create certain events and certain things around this topic when you create certain things on the metaverse. We also have, I just wanted to share this. This is not that much related to generative AI, but it's just to show that in Spain also a lot of things are happening. Actually, when it comes to tourism, I will mention that in a moment. It's quite interesting how companies and hotels are creating metaverse versions and digital twins of their hotels. But this example is from the university called UCAM, from the region of Murcia, and it showcases how they are giving lectures. This one is something like a medical school. These are students learning about something, and probably there's a lot of universities already in Europe and in US doing the same thing. But I think this is one of the great use cases of the metaverse, meaning learning in general. And also, I think that these kind of learning environments will be quite easy, or let's say easier to create, let's say 1 year from now, thanks to generative AI. I'm quite, how would I say, sure that, for example, OpenAI is thinking of having 3D content in some shape or form in their next launch, which is not coming soon, but it's something they're probably thinking. And then many other companies are already working in this field. So in any case, there will be a lot of opportunities for creating amazing metaverse environments and metaverse everything, I would say, due to using generative AI. So now let me see what other slides I would like to share. Maybe I talk a little bit about the limitations, and then I would like to have your questions, because those are always really interesting. One question I always ask companies is like this, that how your company will participate in the metaverse in the next 3 years. One idea is to review all the presentations in this presentation. And I would say for most companies in Europe, that would be using some Microsoft tools. So I really see Microsoft as a leader, also because they are kind of like a leader of human-centric AI compared to Facebook and Google, for example. But you never know. Also, Google is soon launching their own new AI or generative AI model called Gemini, which has been created by deep learning. No, not deep learning, deep mind. And that's really big competition for ChatGPT and OpenAI, much better than what Google has now, which is Bard. So anyhow, these are some of the things, and then I will share some links at the end and take your questions. So some common challenges and kind of like problems are these limited hardware capabilities and internet speeds. So I still see having these goggles all the time as the biggest hinder. I was in a presentation with Stanford University this summer, and it was okay and so on, but I'm more looking at Apple's classes whenever they will be available and whenever they will be more inexpensive for most people. So that will still take some time, but I think then we will see really like the metaverse application. Then data privacy and security is a huge problem. I would say out of these, the security is like big, well, also privacy, because we have a lot of young people entering the metaverse and there's not really good guidelines and so on. It's kind of like whatever companies recommend and so on. And then here in Spain, there are already a lot of programs thinking of these legal frameworks related to the metaverse, how we can fix them and how that will affect and so on. Then we have a lot of social limitations, like having these virtual reality headsets, decrease of real life social interactions, which I think is a huge problem when people have a really powerful AI assistants and metaverse technologies in few years. Especially young people will stop going to their hobbies or will stop seeing other people, and that will generate depression. We already see that actually in the US. This has already started to happen among young boys particularly. And as it says here, it will be like addiction. Actually, I mentioned this in my book already 5 years ago, so it's not a new thing. And yeah, so maybe like some recommendations is that I would think like a 3-year plan for the metaverse. In this presentation, I didn't have that much time to share about that, but I would say that I would review all the presentations in this seminar and get kind of like at least 1 or 2 things that your company would start implementing and testing. And when you do, you should engage all the employees with planning these different ideas, and also engage all of them to use generative AI and think how that will affect, and start using these tools like ChatGPT and many others. And actually, I think now soon we will take questions. I mentioned that I would share some interesting tools. Maybe the one is, yeah, I think the first one is, if I can write like this, it's simply PE.AI. I don't know if any of you have used this. So this is an AI tool where you can go now. And right now it's not really impressive. It's like, okay, I was using it the other day. It's kind of like your friend and helping you and blah, blah, blah. However, what they will be launching before Christmas is a really more advanced personal assistant that will help with many things. And the interesting thing about this assistant or this generative AI tool is that they have a funding from Microsoft and NVIDIA. And they have the biggest hardware, thanks to NVIDIA being their investor. They have the biggest and the best hardware to develop these large language models that soon will be like 100 times bigger than ChatGPT 4, and maybe 3 or 4 years from now they will be 1,000 times bigger. So the question is how you will use, and if you will use, and so on. One of the best ways to start thinking about it is to start using more ChatGPT, because then you will understand how you can use ChatGPT for anything and how you can give it more advanced task and so on. I also mentioned another tool. Let me write it here. I don't know if any of you have been using this. This is called Poe. Okay, Poe.com. So Poe has been created by the owners and creators of Quora. One of them used to be a big leader in Facebook. He then went on to found Quora, and now he's also in the board of directors for OpenAI. So he's really close to OpenAI. But this Poe platform is quite interesting because there you have a different, how would I say, generative AI tools that you can use. So I'm using this. I have this open at the same time as I have ChatGPT open, and I'm testing these different models. For example, I mentioned earlier telecom model which United Arab Emirates or Dubai has created. So that's also coming to this platform, plus many other things. So it's nice that you can create and select different tools from POE. Highly recommend for companies to use POE, have that open and have ChatGPT open. And then obviously you can use some of these tools, like mentioned before, like Apple's tool. You can mention the Apple's tool and the Intel's tool. And then we have, I think, Luma AI is using AI to create 3D content. Luma AI. I think it's not generative AI, but anyhow, it's AI. So you can check. That's quite interesting to create like Metaverse environment from your own office, for example, and so on. These tools are not working that well yet, but they will be all the time improved. And yeah, as I mentioned, I think that the future of Metaverse comes from AI, and AI will be kind of like doing the background work rather than blockchain, and things like large language models or other models, large 3D models and so on, will be quite fundamental for the creation of the Metaverse. And these Metaverse technologies are something that everybody should be thinking. Now I would like to take some questions and comments and yeah, hear from you.